A man who won a landmark lawsuit against the agriculture giant Monsanto is speaking out for the first time, only on CBS This Morning. Monsanto was ordered to pay $289 million in damages to former school groundskeeper Dewayne Johnson. A jury found the company widely used glyphosate-based weed killer was a substantial factor in causing Johnson's rare cancer. It is the first of thousands of similar lawsuits that the company faces across the U.S. Werner spoke with Johnson. Anna, good morning.
Good morning, Norah. He's the man who went up against Monsanto and won. But Dewayne Johnson, who goes by Lee, says his lawsuit started with a desire to warn others about the potential dangers of chemicals. The glyphosate-based weed killers, he says, caused his terminal cancer.
To put it bluntly, you're dying.
Yes.
But you say it's not about you.
No. Yeah, dying is something that everybody has to do, right? So if you know you're dying, it gives you that extra push. It's like, okay, well, you can't just die for nothing.
For y'all that don't know, I am an integrated pest manager / groundsman.
Lee Johnson's ordeal began when he took a job as a pest control manager for a Bay Area school district starting in 2012. Part of his job, spraying glyphosate-based weed killers made by Monsanto, chemicals he says trainers told him were safe.
One of the things that stuck out to me the worst is that when they told me that it was safe enough to drink.
Safe enough to drink?
Safe enough to drink. That was really...
That's what he said.
It became the joke almost, like, hey, man, did you drink it? It was like, what? You know, it was really a shock.
Despite that, Johnson says he always wore his protective gear while spraying some 20 to 30 times a year, sometimes 2 to 5 hours a day.
Oh, you're going to get it on you. You're going to get it on your skin, you know what I mean? It was never like, oh, I didn't even get any on me today. It was always like, man, I'm glad I had this on.
Especially, he says, after a hose came loose, spraying chemicals inside his suit. It was a few months after that he developed a rash that spread over his body.
It never went away, and it got worse and then worse and worse. Doctors
diagnosed him with non-Hodgkin lymphoma, cancer. Later that year, he called Monsanto. What did you want to ask them?
What I wanted to ask them, you know, is it possible that maybe if someone got this on their skin, would they get sick? Would they get rashes? Would they get lymphoma?
And what did they say to you?
You know, she definitely said, Mr. Johnson, somebody will give you a call about this. It won't be me, but somebody will call you and they'll talk to you about it.
Did they ever call you back?
No.
An email introduced at trial shows an executive was notified and wrote that he would call Johnson back. In a later deposition, the executive said he didn't recall whether he'd ever spoken to Johnson. So a little over a year later, in 2016, with his health declining, Johnson sued. Earlier this month, after an 8-week trial and nearly 3 days of deliberations, the jury stunned the world with a $289 million verdict against Monsanto, finding the company failed to warn Johnson and other consumers of the cancer risks. What did that verdict mean to you?
The verdict really meant to me that this thing was not done in vain. And I remember standing there saying to myself, if I lose this case, this company is going to be able to get away, and then they'll be able to say, see, we told you our stuff didn't do that.
Monsanto still says its products did not cause Johnson's cancer. After the verdict, Executive Vice President Scott Partridge said,
we all have tremendous sympathy for Mr. Johnson and his family. What they've gone through with his disease is terrible.
But of the verdict, he said,
it doesn't change the overwhelming scientific evidence and the 40 years of safe use of glyphosate around the world.
What do you make of the fact that Monsanto is not backing down?
They have to not back down, is what I think. You know what I mean? It's like if they just come out and say, okay, you got us. That's the end of them.
Monsanto promises to appeal. Johnson may not live to see the final outcome of his lawsuit. But he says knowing the end is near has allowed him to pass on the lessons of his life to his 2 sons.
I want my sons to know to go forth and to always do what they're supposed to do and never be weak and be strong all the way through.
But you gotta have pain.
Oh yeah, but pain makes you stronger. Things like that happen, but I think it happens for a reason. I'm still here. I was supposed to be gone a long time ago. Because hard times always come. Up and downs always come. So you deal with that accordingly and you move forward.
Monsanto continues to say that 800 scientific studies and reviews, including a conclusion from the Environmental Protection Agency, support the fact that glyphosate does not cause cancer. But Johnson hopes this verdict will lead to labeling changes for these products, so he says more people will know the potential risks and be able to choose whether they want to use those products.
Yeah, he seems like a very humble man.
Yeah.
You know, it's
a
amazing.
philosopher.
Yeah, to have that outlook and, to, as he says, move forward and not feel down and depressed all the time.
Yeah.
You know, he says he does get down, but
He's got his family there, and Lee's sons have a lot to be proud of. And
says he's had time to talk to his sons because he knows the end's coming and it could be very soon.
Yeah, it's important that we're hearing from him. Anna, thank you.